Hey everybody, welcome to Concealed Tactics again. Another point of practice we're going to discuss today that I think is really important for all concealed carry users. We were talking about just basic gun handling, picking up the gun, being able to pick it up, not put your finger in the trigger, and things like that. Understand how to safety check your weapon, all that. As you can see, this one's cleared and empty. But another point of practice, which I'm just going to discuss. We're not going to go into details of it just yet, but it's just a quick thing I think we should all do in practice, which every concealed carrier should do, is holstering and unholstering your weapon. I think a lot of people tend to get the weapon and they may shoot at the range, or they may shoot at, they may practice enough to qualify for the concealed weapon carry, permit and all that kind of stuff. But I think an equal amount of time should be spent on, there's some other practices we're going to discuss also, but holstering the weapon and unholstering the weapon. You should be able to do this instinctively. Know where your holster is located. Now, everybody carries in a different place. You may have a shoulder holster, in the waistband holster, out of the waistband holster, whatever. You may carry a cross draw. There's so many different types of ways to carry your weapon that if you do not practice them, in a critical situation you may fumble, and that's not really what you want. And also, being able to replace your weapon is important. And this also can affect what kind of holster you buy, because if you're buying some of the holsters that you can only get your weapon out very quickly, and it doesn't give you an opportunity really to holster it very quickly, some leathers collapse and they don't allow it to go back in very quickly. That's great. I mean, unholstering is the main part of, obviously, in self-defense. But I really feel that if you have something that you can holster and unholster, I use something that's half leather, half Kydex, and it's the King Tuck by Galco, which is really nice. But I'm able to holster and unholster. Repetitive motions, being able to come up to a single-handed draw, and then put it back in the holster, going back, picking it up and going into a two-handed draw, two-handed grip and placement. Important to know how to do. These are some things I think that are overlooked a lot. I know a lot of it is because many ranges don't allow you to draw from the holster. You got to keep your weapon in the thing. I know that. I understand that can be an issue. You don't get to draw and fire unless maybe you're at an outdoor range or in your own private setting. Many indoor ranges don't allow that, not unless particularly maybe you go to an advanced class or something. But still, doesn't mean you can't practice at home. If you have a tuckable holster such as me, my shirt is tucked in over my holster. Now, being a bit of a heavy guy, I'm not like one of those skinny guys who's going to be able to reach over to my left-hand side and pull up my shirt with my left hand, then go over and get my gun out with my right hand, and then go into a draw. Some guys can do that. That's great, but I have to sort of do it all with one fell, swift motion with my right hand, sort of be able to rip up my shirt and pick up my gun at the same time. It's not easy, so I practice it. Also, being able to get it back in the same location. Also, some safety features when you're putting it back in the holster if you have a gun with a slide. Another little point. A lot of times, if you're putting your, something with a pistol, a revolver, when you're putting this back in your holster, it's always a good tip to leave to put your thumb on the back while you're putting it in your holster. It will prevent your slide from sliding back into a half position or a little bit of out of whack, which could cause a misfire or something later. Just a nice little habit. So when you're putting it in the holster, I always do that just so my slide doesn't, in case it does catch on some Kydex or a little bit of roughness, it doesn't force the slide to do, one of these half cock things, which could cause a situation. But still, that's something that you need to practice. So another thought for concealed carry weapons users: whatever you do, practice holstering and unholstering your weapon. Whether it be over a shoulder holster, or some people also if you change, you should be able to practice in both. I know some guys will carry on their side and then they have conceals those special tactic shirts we were talking about in one of my other videos. Well, that's a totally different thing. Now they got to open up Velcro and be able to get into their weapon. So wherever you carry, you should practice holstering and unholstering your weapon. Get used to drawing from that position and being able to go into left or right hand or both hand stances. And that's another thought altogether. What happens if your right hand's injured? Can you get to your weapon from your left hand? Well, that's a tough one, I'll tell you, especially if you're a big guy like me and you got a gut. There's not like I'm reaching around my stomach and doing it. I got to think of some other ways there. I can almost do it when I reach around behind my body, but then my gun's canted forward. So yeah, there's some issues with that for me. But for some people, it's not an issue. But all these things, think of situations how you would be, where you could be. Are you in your car? Can you get your gun out of your holster? We were talking about that in the road trip, or reciprocity road trip there. All these things should be practiced. Now, I practice for my vehicle, drawing for my vehicle, different situations. Now, if you live in in a neighborhood where your car is parked outside and your neighbors are all standing outside, it might not be a great thing to practice. But if you got a garage and you could be there a little bit private, that's a great place to practice. Because you never know when you're going to be able to do that. So today's just a little tip on everything. Holstering and unholstering your weapon. Practice it. Obviously practice it dry, with your weapon safe, empty. Get used to doing it, finding where it's going to be comfortable, where it's not going to be comfortable. You're going to find out that sometimes, if you were wearing it at the 5 o'clock position, you may move it to the 3 o'clock position because it's a little bit more feasible for different situations. And change where you carry by only a small percentage just from doing these kind of practices. So, concealed tactics out, just another little thing I wanted to discuss about things you can practice even if you're not at the range.